Hello and welcome to Explosion Network's reacting to Spider-Man. Review discussion. Got you all. Somebody there he is shaking his head. It's fine. Terrible. It's completely fine. I'm your host, Ciaran and and I'm joined by the one, the only Ashley Hobley.
Thanks for having me, Ciaran.
You're welcome. I put this on because I was like, hey, Ash, let's organise this for a time when there's no Dylan. No Dylan at the moment. He's off on the petrol. Or whatever he does for a job. He might still do that. Who knows? But we're going to sit and talk about the Spider-Man game. We're going to talk about Tobey Maguire's performance in it. Is he a good Spider-Man? Is he a bad Spider-Man? Nah, Tobey Maguire wasn't.
They should release a emo Peter Parker skin.
Oh no, I hope that's not DLC. That would be really terrible and I would cry. But we are here to go through everything. We're going to do a super quick, maybe 30 seconds to 2 minutes. Is the game good? If you haven't got it, should you buy it? No spoilers. And then we're diving straight into spoilers. We're going straight into the spoiler-oonies, talking about the story, the gameplay, everything that comes to mind. So hopefully you've finished the game so you can join in on the discussion, or you can learn something new and get something spoiled for you. Whatever you want. So Ashley, how was the game? What did you think of it? No spoiler-oonies.
It was great. The story was great. Swinging through New York City is great. There's not much else to say. Let's just end the review discussion there. He's
end of spoiler free. No, I think it's the most fun I've ever had collecting things in a game. The gameplay mechanics, the story's really good. It's a really well written Spider-Man story. If you're a Spider-Man fan, if you like Spider-Man, go get it. Why haven't you got a bright red PlayStation 4 with a Spider-Man logo on it yet?
Because they're expensive.
Well, that's true. I was super tempted to buy one. I was super tempted to get one originally and sell one. Or have 2 PlayStation Pros. But what if? Right, we're going to jump in. From this moment out, spoilers. It's all off the cards. We're taking the chains off. We're freeing the dog off the leash. Whatever anecdotal thing you want to make. There's spoilers right now, people.
Spoilers.
Ashley, spoilers.
Yeah. Spoilers.
There's death in this game. There's a lot more death in this game than I thought. Well, there's two major characters that die. And then we're going to go through. We're going to go through first. We're doing the story. We're going to break down some characters. What do we think of them? As well as story beats and events that I want to talk about and discuss. First, I want to talk about the man himself, Peter Parker / Spider-Man. What did you think of both the Peter Parker and the Spider-Man side? Because I think a lot of the times in comic books, or especially in the movies, if we take the movies for instance, Tobey Maguire was bad at both. Andrew Garfield, in my opinion, was a bad Peter Parker but a good Spider-Man, and Tom Holland for me is a great both. I can't remember the voice actor's surname. I know his first name's Yuri. Lowenthal, thank you. How did his Spider-Man come through and the writing of this Spider-Man come through in this game, do you think?
I think it was perfect. It's the version I imagined from the comic books.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's great. I enjoyed all the Peter bit, all the emotional Peter stuff. I enjoyed all the funny quips with Spider-Man, Spider Cop, and yeah, great.
I think I really enjoyed the Spider-Man side of things. I wish there was more Peter gameplay. I think there could have been more developed there. I really loved Spider-Man, but for the story around Spider-Man, there were some things that were written into the story that should have been kind of big things, but never really affected him. Like, early in the story, he gets evicted from his apartment. But he kind of...
To be fair, it feels like he gets evicted a lot.
It feels like that, but he kind of just brushes it off and is just like, I'll keep going. We've got worse things to do and swings. And, there seems to be some events that happen that are not as, they don't have the weight to them that I thought they would. But overall, I think the journey that this Spider-Man went on was fantastic. And I really enjoyed his character throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
But my favorite character out of all of this game is probably Mary Jane. And her role she played throughout the story. I think it's very interesting in conventional Spider-Man stories or in conventional tales or the comic books. Mary Jane is generally 8 times out of 10 the damsel in distress. She is a lot of the time is the one falling off the building that Spider-Man has to catch and save, or his biggest worry as Spider-Man is that if his identity gets revealed, the people he cares about are going to get hurt. They can't take care of themselves. What do we do? And I really enjoyed the writing of this Mary Jane. She was trying to prove that she had her place to play in this game, or in the story. She had her role, and she didn't want to be Spider-Man's, pointless sidekick. She wanted to be putting in as much work as Spider-Man did. And I really enjoyed her writing for it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I appreciated them sort of switching up her role, where she's sort of like a journalist, whereas in the comic books and a lot of other stuff, she's like a supermodel or some other fancy some other job that isn't doesn't help Peter at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, I enjoyed that. She probably wasn't my favorite character, but I really appreciated the role she played in the game.
Even just maybe you shared this or somebody shared this in my Twitter sphere. The moment in the kitchen where that moment where Peter's cooking for her, and then his police scanner goes off on his phone, and she's reading it, and by the time she finishes reading it and turns around, he's already dressed as Spider-Man, preparing to jump out the window.
Yep.
And there's just this moment of, did you leave your clothes on the kitchen floor? That is just, it's so, it shows there's this known history between the two of them. Yeah. Obviously Peter's done this before, where he's just left his clothes on the floor and just gone as Spider-Man. And I think in general in this game, I think they did a fantastic job of showing that this had a history. This world had a history with Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It wasn't just...
Yeah, that's the thing I appreciate the most, that they didn't do the origin story thing. They jumped... There was 8 years of history to build on.
And they did 8 years of it. They did, they did the 8 years of the history beforehand. And I want to talk a little bit in a later, once we go through characters a bit more in the events, talk a little bit more about how Insomniac altered that so they could form their story. But it was really nice to see the payoff of MJ and Peter's relationship. I felt relieved that, I didn't know at first, but I felt relieved that it wasn't about hiding his identity to Mary Jane or the whole time. There's often that typical subplot of a Spider-Man game or Spider-Man movie of Peter trying to
hide. I was late for some odd reason.
Yeah.
No, I was late because I was Spider-Man.
Yeah, I was late because I was Spider-Man, and she knows it. The knowledge of why he's leaving, you get to understand that maybe originally you were readers and players and fans of Spider-Man would probably think, if you would just tell her what you were doing, it would completely solve the problem. You'd be fine. Whereas this game shows that no matter what, even though she knows he's Spider-Man, at the end of the day, it's still a relationship, and she's still feeling the decline of that. That she's still, you're being Spider-Man, you're leaving, but you're treating me like I'm a fragile vase or a glass that's going to shatter if I do anything dangerous.
He was protecting her too much. Is basically why she left him in the first place.
Yeah.
I thought that was a good, valid reason, and they sort of explored that. And Peter grew and let her do stuff.
It was nice that it wasn't a breakup that was just flat out, they don't talk, they're pissed at each other, blah, blah, blah.
Well, they hadn't talked.
They hadn't talked for some time, but it was more of an awkward, we both still want to be together, but there's reasons that we're not together kind of relationship where, and I think that still works. There are moments where she gets super annoyed with Peter, and she I think one of the best things and the best storytelling methods that I have in games is Peter's phone calls with random people as he's swinging around, or the text messages where she's like, "Look, I don't want to talk yet. I'm not cool." And a minor point is always, there was a really minor thing that made me, that the amount of effort or the activity that Peter was doing at the time of the phone calls, altered the audio for the phone call.
Yeah.
So Peter was more exasperated while talking if you were swinging around at full speed. I really liked that change, and it showed there was weight. And now we quickly got, and I want to celebrate. I want to celebrate Insomniac's choice of this, and they did it really well. I think I didn't see anything about him leading up to this. Their use of Otto Octavius, Doc Ock, in this game is really good. Is really I really like this version of Dr. Octopus. I like the effort that they went through to hide his presence in the game. I don't think there was anything about Doc Ock in the trailers except for, was it at the end?
I think apparently the last trailer that they released, they showed Dr. Octavius.
Did they? Okay.
Yeah. And there'd been rumors because someone, like a voice actor, said that Doc Ock was part of the game or whatever.
Yeah. But they, they hid the collector's edition statue from view because it featured Doc Ock's tail. And they didn't want to spoil that. And I think that's really cool. I think Doc Ock, I really do like his progression. The progression of his psyche and the change in his psyche and the reasons for him having the claws, they developed really well through those little voicemail messages that you got, or the recorders that you found around his lab. I think that developed really well, and I guess I wish it had been a slower burn almost. There was the whole thing about him finding out early that Peter had Spider-Man's costume, and you make his tech. But that somehow evolved later into he actually knew you're Spider-Man shit.
That was such a great scene.
Yeah, no. How did you see Doc Ock in this game?
Well, to be fair, as I'm sure, like you, as soon as you saw Dr. Octavius, you sort of knew where it was going.
Yeah, you knew where it was going. You knew where it was going.
Yeah. But yeah, I enjoyed the slow build. I thought it was a perfectly fine slow build. I think like the prosthetic thing, it all sort of made sense after you realized he had that like muscle dystrophy or whatever it was.
Yep.
I can't remember what it was called. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It had a weird name.
And just to see him slowly turn into the character we see at the end. It's like, and that last confrontation, I'm sure we'll get to it, but
we'll definitely get to it as we move through the game. And I think Spider-Man's, his interactions with Doc, and it was really interesting knowing how, I think my only thing is either his acceleration from wanting to help people to this evil genius that has everything planned out perfectly was kind of rapid for me. I think he kind of knew what he was doing or knew how to control people.
There was a bit of a time jump there in the middle, I think, after the Martin Lee attack.
Yeah, after the original Martin Lee. That was like 2 weeks or something?
Something like that.
But I didn't think, I don't know. Because I know in the lab, there was a drawing of the raft on the wall.
The raft.
For a very long time.
He said he was doing contract work.
Yeah, exactly. So obviously he has some connection there, and he understood the building very well. There was a lot of, he seemed to get his shit together extremely quickly. Like the amount of tech that he just whacked up for each of the villains was just like...
But it just shows how smart he is.
Exactly. It shows how smart he is. It was a little quick for me. And then, so that kind of leads me on to, I want to, before we go on to some of the other side characters, I want to go to the other side of the coin in the villain's role, which is Mr. Negative or Martin Lee. I really enjoyed the majority of it. And then his end of Act 2 boss fight super sucked. I didn't enjoy it at all.
The subway fight?
Yeah, like in the train.
Yeah, it felt... It wasn't the most fun.
It was just kind of a traditional, he stood at one end of the train, you stood at the other, and you have to either press a different...
hit left, right, or jump.
Left, right, or jump. So that kind of it. And then I think the build to his the build up to his reveal with even though we knew it was him, with the events of the town center presentation, that event that happened, with him just coming and destroying everything, knocking Peter Parker out in the midst of it, leading to Miles having to go try and save his father. There's a lot, and I think one of my favorite moments in the game was the secret area, his secret office. And then
inside Feast,
inside Feast, like sneaking into there, I was like, this is really cool. This is an awesome build-up. Holy crap. And then you leave that office, and then he's there, and he knows what's up, and you know what's up. I don't think that moment has a payoff, like, ever.
No.
Like, there was, like, no... Except for him, like, setting those homeless people on Peter. Did he just think, oh, Peter's done with it, it's fine. Whatever. Like, just, I'm a little bit, what was the purpose of that moment? But,
it was cool, that's why.
It was cool, and I guess having the moment of, I guess you don't want too many people in the very first game knowing Spider-Man is Peter Parker.
Yeah.
You don't want too many villains knowing that. I think the weight of Doc Ock knowing that is super important, because a bit similar to the Homecoming reason why Vulture in Homecoming doesn't reveal who Spider-Man is, Doc Ock still has some kind of care for Peter that he's not going to reveal his secret identity, even though he threatened to. But overall, Martin Lee, I just think it was a big story that kind of just got, like, it kind of fizzled a little bit for me, because it ended Act 2, and then Act 3 was all about him as part of the Sinister Six, and all of a sudden he was working with he was working with Doc Ock, who was one of the reasons that he got turned into Mr. Negative. My only thing is, I think I missed a section in that area where you go around and you look at each person's, like, equipment and stuff. I didn't find a Mr. Negative area in that section. I think I was
right at the start, but Doc Ock pretty much tells him he can help him control whatever.
Yes, because I walked past it and then realized I did everything else, and then realized where it was. And as I walked up to it, I touched the item that sets off Doc Ock talking to you.
Oh, the bomb. Yeah.
And I was like,
I couldn't find it.
You couldn't find it? Yeah, no, yeah. I set that off, and I went, oh, okay, maybe I've missed something there. But he seemed to go from all-powerful supervillain to, like, super lackey, like, super quickly. That I was a bit like, yeah,
I guess. He just wasn't too involved in the third act, I think.
Yeah, like, you just kind of fought him for fighting him's sake, and there was, like, the dream sequency sections that happened of fighting him.
Yeah.
I'm a little disappointed, but at the same time, I think he served his purpose. But
he served his purpose, like, sort of getting those demon enemies everywhere.
Yeah,
obviously played into the open world section,
and he was the bait and switch for
Doc Ock.
He was the bait and switch for that. So Miles Morales in this game, was really good. I really liked him. You know what? I don't think I've ever met somebody that says they don't like Miles Morales, because, like, if they're, as long as they're a Spider-Man,
because you can't.
Because I don't think you can not like him. Like, I don't think it's possible not to like him. He's an interesting character. You understand his anger and stuff. And as soon as we met his dad as Spider-Man early in the middle of Act 1, I was like, okay, Insomniac, where are you going with this? Because I know there's two different versions of his origin story, one with his dad and one without his dad. Like, one where his dad dies and one where he doesn't die. So I was like, okay, are you going to fake it out so he dies? Are you going to fake it out and be like, no, he's not dead, but there's still a reason to? I really enjoyed it. I'll get to them more later. I didn't love his stealth sections. The only stealth section that I super loved was the Rhino stealth section with him. I thought that was pretty fun, just because it's Rhino, and I'm a massive mark for Spider-Man villains, so I was like, oh yeah, this is cool. This is a good way to interact with Rhino. But it was it was interesting that he'd already got, like, you know, the hacking app when you first play as him, when he's like, oh, I just met Spider-Man. What did you think of Miles?
Yeah, I thought it was good. I enjoyed his interaction with Peter and Mary Jane. I think, what was it? There was some interaction with him and Mary Jane. Just like asked Mary Jane, "Oh, are you his girlfriend?" That was funny. And, yeah, I enjoyed his interaction with Aunt May and that sort of working piece. And that after the funeral scene, that like at his dad's funeral, when he sort of rejects Peter.
Yes.
Right.
Well, you guess he was angry.
Totally makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's totally fine. And I really liked his awkwardly coming back with his box of waters. Like, he just had like a box of just like 9 different types of water. I was like,
yep. I don't know what type you like.
And just he was a good. I was really interested when we saw in the early trailers. I was interested how his relationship with Mary Jane and Peter was going to grow. Because very early on we saw the scene of those 3 talking together and planning out what they were doing. So it was interesting to see him be integrated into Spider-Man's world. And they baited his being bitten by a spider really well. I think they did that pretty well, because at first they fooled me with a possible Mary Jane getting bitten. I was like, you didn't think it was a possibility?
As soon as I saw the spider, I'm like, oh, this is destined for Miles.
Yeah, I was like, oh, is Mary Jane gonna get bitten? That's kind of cool. Oh no, it's Miles. Fair enough. Cool. Miles will get bitten. Awesome. So Miles, fuck it, we'll talk about it now. We have the end credits. Well, was it the last scene or was it after the credits? It was after. It was mid.
Let's go mid credits.
Mid credits. Let's go with mid credit scene where he is moving into Peter's new apartment.
No, I think Peter's moving in
with him. Yeah, Peter's moving in with.
I think Miles is helping Peter move into a new apartment.
Oh, okay, yeah, because he was staying with Miles before that. Yeah, he was crashing with Miles before that, and then they both, Miles goes, "I need to show you something," and then jumps up onto the ceiling.
After an awkward sex talk.
After a really well done awkward sex talk. And then he had an awkward moment, and then Peter jumps up on the ceiling as well, which is a fantastic lead. I think it sets up their relationship so well, like their bond, and I think it sets up the next game really well. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. It pretty much said we're going to make another game.
Yeah. Which is it's really nice to see that dedication already from Insomniac. Then we had Aunt May. Aunt May. She had her role in this to play, and I really liked her. I really liked how she was really. Sometimes we get the old Aunt May who kind of just seems frail. Who is frail and just seems to be like a retired old lady who randomly is always in a spot where some villain's going to attack. Spider-Man needs to check when she's going to the bank before she goes so he can protect the bank because it's going to get robbed.
Yeah, it's going to get robbed.
No, this Aunt May was older, but she wasn't helpless. She took a really strong, caring role within Feast. She took a really, after Martin Lee left, she ran Feast.
I think she was pretty much running it before.
Yeah, she was
before he left,
just his right-hand person. And so we see how that evolves and see her relationship with Peter and her interactions with him. And her interactions with him get super interested if you want to replay the game with New Game Plus. Once you get to the last scene with her, major spoiler, if you've been spoiled a lot already, Aunt May gets infected with the what was it called? Devil's breath. And Peter has to make the decision. He has enough to either make a solution for everybody or save May. And it was one of the most heartbreaking scene that May died. May is dead in this universe.
Oh, so sad.
Which is super sad.
And she knew it was Spider-Man as well, which...
Yeah, and sorry, the big revelation there is Spider-Man's like, I'm so sorry, and she's like, take off the mask and let me see my nephew. And you're just like, of course you knew! Of course you bloody knew! Like, and so I think if you were to go back and look at their interactions, I think in the writing, there's a bit of telling that she knows what's going on. Which is really heartbreaking. And to see this Spider-Man who already has learned that with great power comes great responsibility, has already learned the weight of the job he's doing, has the ability to save probably the most important person in his life, and because he knows that it's the right thing to do, and she would
the greater good.
She would want that.
Yeah.
He doesn't save her, and he goes to put the vial in her IV and then like kind of crumples crying, and it's like,
Insomniac. What are you doing to us?
Insomniac, you. And I think that was I don't know why, I just didn't expect there to be an Aunt May death. I didn't expect it, because we'd seen her in previous trailers, we'd seen her in a hospital bed. So it's like, okay, something happening to her, something's happening to Aunt May, and oh fuck, okay.
But you think it's a Spider-Man game? Everything's gonna work out well. Everybody's gonna be happy.
No, and you know what? And I heard somebody else talk about this the other day. I think I was listening to a Rooster Teeth podcast. Spider-Man's life is super shit. Like, just in this game, his life is terrible. Like, just the amount of stuff he goes through on a day-to-day basis. You know, being evicted, the amount of broken bones he cops, the everything just keeps going wrong for him, and
Parker luck.
Yeah, it's so rough. But I think I was really happy with the way it finished the story. That the way that its payoff in the end was a lot more than the payoff had been in the past. No, I really enjoyed May's character.
She was great.
Just to whip through a couple minor characters. Now, this one is... These two I'm pairing together because of how closely they're tied together. But this is my favourite subplot in the game, is between Norman Osborn and Harry Osborn. Harry Osborn is not... Well, he is physically in the game at one point, but you spent the majority of the game thinking that Harry has gone to Europe.
Yeah.
And that he has said goodbye to Mary Jane and Peter, and he's also said to Peter, hey, if you can, stop by these research sections and keep them going for me. And then as the game keeps going, you know, oh, okay, Norman is the mayor of the city. I thought was an interesting choice that Norman Osborn was the mayor. It changed his role.
And also running Oscorp, I don't know how legal that is.
Yeah, no, that seems super illegal, but hey, he's the mayor of the city.
That's the kind of America that Insomniac has designed.
Yeah. He's the mayor of the city. He runs Oscorp, and he's working on this Devil's Breath thing that really is a cure for a whole bunch of diseases.
Yeah.
And this
but it's gone wrong or something.
But at the moment, in its current form, it's killing people.
It'll kill everybody.
Yeah, in its current form, it's killing people. And you're like, oh, okay, blah, 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 you keep wondering. And then there's a scene where you sneak around his apartment as Mary Jane. And depending on how much you look around the apartment, it starts to build up more and more what's gone on. And then eventually it leads to you reading a journal in his secret lab. Of course, he has a secret lab in his apartment. Of course.
No, wasn't the journal just in his room?
No, I thought... Oh, no, that was in Harry's room. Sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry, that was in Harry's room. It was this journal because that's how you got into the lab.
Yeah.
And you find out that Harry was sick with the same. Was it the same thing that Doc Ock has?
No, what Martin Lee had originally.
Same thing as what Martin Lee had originally. Okay.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh, he's been sent somewhere to hold off and to heal him and help him rehab. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then one of the last scenes of the game, I think it's the very last after credits scene, is Norman Osborn revealing that Harry is in that secret lab in like a Green Goblin-esque test tube type of place.
Yeah.
And which I was like, oh shit, like that's huge. That's massive. So, next game this is leading to Green Goblin and possibly Hobgoblin, correct?
Is it? Did you see when Norman Osborn put his hand up against the glass?
Oh, but there was a symbiote, wasn't there?
Yeah.
So, and that's what I'm confused about. Because it looked Green Goblin-y, but then he had the symbiote was there, and I was like, what are we doing? Is Harry Osborn going to be Venom in the next game?
Is he? Is it the Green Goblin and then the symbiote is like a byproduct of whatever turns him into the Green Goblin?
Like, is that a thing? Like, ooh, okay. Because Norman Osborn's already fucked up. Like, he's already a terrible human being. So to see him potentially turn into Green Goblin, that's
cool.
Look, all right, Norman, you've got 8 years now. This Spider-Man has been swinging around your city. For whatever reason, stop playing with spiders. Because you're just going to make another one eventually, aren't you?
You don't find it suspicious that you've been making all these radioactive spiders and there's a Spider-Man swinging around?
Yeah, and then when the second one crops up, he's going to be like fuck. Like, he just needs to stop. Stop playing with spiders.
Or he just goes, let these spiders give me a bite.
Yeah. Why doesn't he? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I enjoyed Norman's he was the middle point that everything pivoted around. Martin Lee was...
Everybody hated him, pretty much.
Everybody hated him. Fisk was in partnership with him and was protecting him pretty much.
Yeah.
And then the moment Spider-Man gets rid of Fisk, Martin Lee comes forward and starts fucking stuff up for him. And then Doc Ock comes. I really enjoyed Norman. I really enjoyed the developments of Harry's story within it.
Yeah. Also, I didn't play all the research missions till I'd finished the story. And then you get all the little things of Peter's going, I can't contact him anyway. I send him all these emails that go straight to voicemail. And then you realize why.
Yeah. And I think I'd only done a good portion of them. And I could already was like, oh, okay, shit. This is why a lot of this is happening. And why when Harry's recording the messages, you can tell there is some kind of sadness and sorrow in his voice. Like there's something there like he's, when he's especially when he's talking about his mother and stuff, I think there's a lot of which could be, you could misinterpret it originally for he's still mourning his mum's death and whatever, but you can see it changes a lot of it going forward.
Yeah.
And then I've grouped the Sinister 4. I'm going to say, Sinister 4 plus Shocker together, because I don't think the other villains that appeared, because, and I'm not saying that other villains appeared is a bad thing. I'm not saying that at all, because it's in very Spider-Man style that these important villains can randomly show up and do stuff and happen and have a presence. It's very Spider-Man. That's completely fine with me. That's what I want. These villains to... I grew up watching the Spectacular Spider-Man TV show, so there was a lot of that every week. There was a different villain, and they could all intersect and interact with each other, and it was cool.
Yeah.
Vulture and Electro was my favorite boss fight in the game.
Okay.
I had a lot of fun in that boss fight. One, because of kind of multitasking between the two villains was a fun challenge to deal with. but also the writing of that was fantastic.
Yeah.
The banter between Peter and those two is funny as. When Peter makes a Rocky reference, and then Vulture doesn't get it, and then Electro flicks back up and makes the counter reference to the Rocky reference, was hilarious. I laughed so hard because, Vulture's real name is Adrian, so Spider-Man does the Adrian, we did it, or whatever.
Yeah.
And Electro comes out and I'm here to crush you or something, or I must crush you. I can't remember the exact line. But to see that change and to put that kind of writing of that back and forth banter and Spider-Man being like, yes, somebody got my joke. Yes, you did it. It's such a Spider-Man thing to do, and it was so fun. I really liked their interaction. Rhino and Scorpion's thing was not a fun fight.
Were you like me? It just felt like it went on for too long.
I felt it was too easy because I just realized I could deal with Scorpion while just randomly dodging Rhino for a bit. Spider-Sense made it that easy that it was just I'll press circle now and dodge out of Rhino's way.
Yeah.
And then web up Venom and kill him and dodge and web up Venom and rinse and repeat. The whole poison story plot thing that happened with not Venom, with Scorpion. The whole poison mission that you had to, that was not good.
Let's just point out right here, this game borrows so heavily from the Arkham games.
Yes, it does.
That is so much like
I had not thought of that, but that is the Scarecrow mission. I had not thought of that, but that is the Scarecrow mission. It does borrow from Arkham with some Spider-Man flair. There is a lot of good Spider-Man stuff in it that kind of makes you go, oh, okay, don't worry about it too much. There was that I didn't love that Scorpion one.
The drug sequence,
the dream sequencey section, because I was a bit. I think I don't know why, it was the only point in the game that I felt that swinging was difficult.
Yeah, there was another research mission where you had to stay above a certain level.
I don't think I've done that.
Otherwise, you get zapped. Yeah.
I think that was the only point in the game where I was like, all right, swinging's got a problem here. There's a problem with the swinging. I don't know why. It was just maybe because there was a lot of large sections of open space that there was only cranes every now and then to try and swing across. And then you had to dodge random scorpion tails or whatever. It was a whole thing. What did you think of the 5 other villains that appeared?
They're fine. They just sort of served a purpose. They just sort of showed up for a little bit. It was clear they wanted to focus on Martin Lee and Dr. Octopus. But I mean,
And then I've left this person till last. There's one other character I could go over, but I don't think their relationship. I think their relationship's good, which was the detective. I can't remember.
Yuri.
Sorry, it was Yuri.
Watanabe.
Yeah, Watanabe. I really liked her and Spider-Man's relationship and friendship.
Good.
Most disappointing character in the game for me, Silver Sable.
Yeah, that's fair.
I found Silver Sable super disappointing because you spent a portion of the game being like, boy, she's real scary. She's real cool. She fights. She's really, wow, she does this, she does that. And then she decides to help Peter and Spider-Man. And then she's like,
I'm giving up this life.
She's like, all of a sudden, she's like, you've made me question how I interact with the world. I'm going back to Russia to think about this. Bye. Oh, by the way, though, rest of my militia still likes money, so they're still going to shoot at you. I wasn't the real leader, I guess. Goodbye. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
What? There was no fight with her. There was, like, nothing.
That's true, yeah.
There was no fight with her or no actual payoff with her that I'm like...
It would have been cool, like, if during before that last Martin Lee fight, if they had to, like, fought together or something.
Yeah, or something. Or there was a scene where they were fighting each other but fighting together at the same time. they were still fighting the Martin Lee guys while trying to fight each other. That would have been fun. But saying that, I think the third DLC is based on her.
Okay.
I think reading the titles, Spider-Man DLC. Let me just quickly look this up.
Silver Lining is the third one.
Silver Lining, that's what. So I think could be Silver Sable, maybe, or there's something else happening there. So we'll see. We'll see if Silver Sable can redeem herself in the DLCs, because she was the only character that I was super like, okay, Insomniac, you've kind of, yeah. So Doc Ock's change, we've done that. Aunt May's death, we've done that. Grand Centralization, I've said that, blah, blah, blah. Is there any more, I guess, specific story events you want to talk about?
No, I think we've covered most of them. But that reveal with Dr. Ock, that whole sequence where they're fighting on the side of the roof.
That whole sequence. I think the fighting on top of the building was better than fighting on the side of the building.
Yeah, but I don't think that it was meant to be. I think it was more a story.
It was supposed to be a story build and whatever. I think the suit was cool to build, but at the same time, it was
I think it was kind of pointless.
It was kind of pointless.
I don't know how it helped in any way.
Because it made you refill your gadgets quicker. Which you needed.
But you could win that fight without using any gadgets. You could have just used your whip shooter.
Yeah, whatever. I don't know. The suit was but the Doc Ock fight was really cool. I was super worried that Peter was going to fall for the traditional duping of, oh, no, I'm good now. Oh, we can still work together. Come over here and help me. And I was like, Peter, don't you dare. Don't you dare. And he got close, and then he turned and he walked away. Which is interesting for two reasons, because I think this is the first iteration of Doc Ock that's like, he can't move his physical body. Like, he is purely bound by the octopus arms, which is super interesting.
Well, it's sort of a thing they've done in the comics.
Have they? Oh, okay.
Because
those versions.
Spoilers for the comics. Dr. Octopus his body gets so bad that he implants his own mind into Peter's.
Yeah, no, I know that storyline. I just didn't know it was because his body was mangled.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
But in the storyline, it's because Peter's been hitting him as Spider-Man so much that his brain sort of is all done. Yeah.
Oof. That's deep.
Yeah.
That's super deep. So specific stories over, like specific points gone through. Were there any of the overall stories, I guess?
Yeah.
Were there any negatives that you had to the story, or
of the story?
Yeah.
No, not really.
Really?
It went pretty well. Obviously, like mechanically, just the stealth.
I was going to go into mechanics really quickly in a second.
Go straight into it. The stealth missions weren't the most
fun.
fun.
We'll dive into that in a second. And then the other thing I really enjoyed Insomniac's way that they've taken this universe and made it their own thing. Yeah. And they really quickly established, yes, he's been Spider-Man for 8 years, but he's only really faced these bad guys. These are the...
When you think about it, this is a world that has not had Green Goblin.
No Green Goblin, no Doc Ock yet, no Venom yet, no Carnage yet. Yeah. There hasn't been a Hobgoblin yet. Like, there's a whole bunch of key Spider-Man villains that have not featured yet in the world, which I thought is a fantastic choice. Because it would when it originally was released, and they were like, "This is 8 years into Spider-Man's career," I was like, "Oh, that means all this shit's happened already. Every villain's up for the grabs. Like, this could be any villain could be in this game. Okay, cool, whatever. They've already got back and forth, but it means that Spider-Man hasn't had this teenage to young adulthood of it's been lighter than maybe some stories have told before, where it's just like, you know, some stories to fill the story of his teenage years, it's just one villain after another villain after another villain all the time. Where this one is, Spider-Man has been dealing mainly with Kingpin for the most, and then he has been dealing with these little ones on the side as well, or these superpowered bad guys as well at the same time. But Kingpin was his biggest problem because he couldn't put Kingpin away. He could put the others away, couldn't get Kingpin. But they've left themselves so many openings and stories and things to happen in the game that I think is really fantastic. I don't think we've seen a developer, maybe Rocksteady with Arkham, maybe, that has taken a universe and done something that has made it their own so well.
Yeah.
So quickly, the gameplay, I guess, for the game. I think I've said this previously on podcasts today, late nights. I talked to it about people. Collecting stuff in games, I generally find it gets boring after a little bit of collecting. I don't find it fun. This game, I was super into, just because of how fun swinging around New York was.
Yeah.
Just because of that gameplay. I guess the general gameplay of the game was really fun. I guess you have those Arkham sections where you're taking people out stealthily. I really liked the idea of it wasn't an instant fail that like you could drop down. It would tell you if it was safe to kill that person or not. But sometimes I'd drop down and do it, and it would switch to not safe while I was dropping down. And somebody would see me, but it wouldn't be instant you fucked up. You could turn around and with like an impact web, which was my favorite gadget, you could just impact web somebody to a wall. And that just kind of dealt with them. And you were like, okay, awesome.
Okay.
The Kingpin, like the fortresses or the hideouts.
The bases,
I really enjoyed that you could do the first wave stealthily, but I found it kind of stupid that the second wave instantly knew where you were. Just like,
that's true.
And it's like, I think there should have been a reward for if you could do the first wave stealthily, then you could complete the thing super easily. Like that was all you had to do for the area.
Yeah, but that would have been too easy.
It would have been too easy, but it would have enticed people to play more stealthily or to take their time with it tactically. Or even if it, like, the other wave came out, if you did 2 waves stealthily, you could do the area or whatever. Yeah. I think some of this, like, as you've already said, the stealth areas, I was by the end of the game.
Pretty much any time you were playing as Mary Jane or Miles.
Yes. Miles, I was like, they're trying to be different here with his hacking, but there was some of the areas I kept failing because the hacking was either super weird or I couldn't get the bad guys to turn in the right direction.
Running too fast and like turn around.
Yeah, like there was that. Mary Jane's Mary Jane's got okay after she got the stun gun because you just start stunning fools, and also the stealth section midway through Grand Central Station, where
they'll sort of switch it off between her and Peter.
Yeah, where you were like, hey, take this person out. And I wish they could have done that more. They did that once throughout the entire game, that mechanic, and it's like, why didn't you do this more? This would have built up the whole.
It didn't make story sense anywhere else, though. So
exactly, it didn't. But overall, Mary Jane and the stealth sections made the story feel like it dragged a whole bunch.
Just like tension for the sake of putting it tension. Yeah,
and it was getting to the section where I was like, guys, just let me be Spider-Man, please. Yeah. This is what I like to do. I felt some of the suit powers, some felt really awesome and some felt super useless. Like I didn't
really play around with the suit.
I played with most of the game with one suit power because it was overpowered as shit. Which was Web Blossom.
Actually, I barely used the suit power at all.
Oh, really? I use Web Blossom because Web Blossom, you as you jump in, you press both of them, and he webs everything within an area of himself. Yeah. And so you could start the fight with automatically webbing shit to walls and just taking enemies out of the fight, which was super useful when I was like, I'm down for health and stuff and I'm surrounded.
Yeah.
But some of the other ones were, some of the other suits were really rough and pointless. I liked the range of suits, and building them was fun. But I always flicked back to the games suit because for some reason I just liked it better. Or it was just like, this is what the game suit was wearing. Like
this is what he wanted originally.
This is what he made. This is what the game's designed around. Let's play it with this. Yeah. Wall crawling seemed kind of non-existent because you could just run up a wall, and
I found any time they had the bomb missions.
Yeah.
Like bombs are stuck on the side of the wall. Oh, it's so difficult.
There was sometimes where I was like, where I'd swing and I'd want to just stick to a wall and climb somewhere to get a backpack or some shit.
Yeah.
And he would land on something just on the edge of the wall and I wouldn't be able to stick to it. And I'm like,
yeah.
This feels like an afterthought. This feels like, and it's like, this is his shit. This is like half of his awesomeness is like wall crawling.
Also, what kind of webs is he using on those backpacks?
Old shit. I think it said that it was like an old formula or something that got super hard.
I guess.
One of my favorite features, and this is probably a favorite feature that I've seen in a game, in the use of music for a game, was the use of music for when, if you were to stop and stand still in a building or something, there would be no music, it'd be super quiet, but the moment you jump off and get speed to like start swinging, that soundtrack and music would start building and building and building, and then be this awesome epic crescendo of just music and orchestra and I'm Spider-Man, everybody, this is awesome.
It's like into Spider-Man 1, we're swinging through the streets.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, it was so much fun. And then finally, all the side missions and freaking variety. There was so much.
There was. A lot of it was pretty repetitive.
It was. I enjoyed it, but at the same time, when there was like, hey, these are Kingpin's fortresses. And then Act 2 is like, hey, you did those fortresses last act? Guess what? There's demon fortresses now, fucker. And you're like, okay. And then the third act is like, hey, there's now Silver Sable's militia's fortresses for you to deal with. And I was like,
yeah, and they're also doing crimes as well.
Yeah. It's like
random crimes that you have to fight.
It's like, oh, okay. And I think Act 3 was probably the quickest act because I had the least amount of fun just swinging around the city. Because there was always like somebody trying to shoot at me.
Yeah, there was always trying to kill you.
Like there was always somebody trying to kill me, and I understood that was the story and that was what was happening in the world, but it made the gameplay of the world not as fun. Like for me, just
you didn't want to explore that world.
I was just like, I need to get through this story so it goes back to normal, so I can do whatever else I want to do.
Yeah.
What do you think? Any other gameplay stuff you want to talk about? Anything you want to touch?
I found the challenges annoying.
Oh, I couldn't get I haven't done all the challenges yet. I couldn't get above bronze. Pardon?
I got silver. Can't get 3-star.
You can't get 3-star? I couldn't get above bronze when I was doing them, and I'm like, how hard are these challenges?
Yeah, they must be super hard because they like get the silver and it's like just over the silver, and then it's like the gold's like way higher. Like,
oh, it's bad. It's weird. The challenges are weird. The research centers weren't bad. I really love the backpacks.
The only thing with the challenges, it pays off towards facing somebody at the end. Okay. It's worthwhile doing all the challenges, whereas some of the other side missions, they just fizzle out.
Who does it pace? What is it?
You know who's setting the challenges?
No. Tell me now. Reveal it to me. It's Taskmaster.
Yeah, it's Taskmaster.
Yeah. No, I know.
Fight Taskmaster.
Oh, okay. I did not know that. I knew it was Taskmaster. I just thought they'd done it. Potentially they'd use Taskmaster as like a kind of like a like a bait and switch again. But no, okay.
No, not like the Black Cat where you do all the backup missions and then it's just a hidden hideout.
It's just a suit. But that's leading up to the DLC.
Yeah.
Because the first DLC is Black Cat.
Yeah.
But
most of the side missions didn't really have any story value.
Mm-hmm.
Other than the Tombstone. Tombstone is his name. Have you done that one?
No, I have not done his side mission. It's always been there. I think I've done everything else. Yeah. Every other side mission.
That has some sort of story value, and maybe like the pigeon one.
The pigeon one I found was fun because I was like, yeah, I'll go catch a pigeon.
Yeah,
it's fun. I'll go catch one. It's something to do.
But yeah, just there was a story to that.
My favorite
was
the
side missions where you just have to go find these random frat kids who've been turned by this negative. It's like,
and then of course the backpacks being my favorite because they held story and weight.
Story, yeah.
They showed Spider-Man in a more realism light that I really enjoyed. So that was really fun. Okay, finally, are you looking forward to the next game, Ashley?
Yes. Why isn't it out now?
Why isn't it out now? Why haven't they prepared? But it's okay. There's going to be DLC. There's 3 DLCs already promised. October is the first DLC.
It seems like genius that they decided to put this out so soon after the game.
Yes. I think it's great. I think if they spend 6 months before they release DLC or 6 months, if they don't have all the DLC released within the next, maybe the end of the year, maybe January, I don't think I'll care enough to go back.
Yeah.
I think if they can release the story in chunks, maybe 1 DLC a month, I'd be really cool.
That's the plan, isn't it?
They've got dates, so I think it's December's the last one. I think that was the dates. As long as they stick to that,
November, December.
As long as they stick to that, that's awesome. I will come back and play the DLCs. If they don't do that, I'll be like, I'll just read what the DLC was if it doesn't have that much impact. And finally, what do you think is going to happen next in the Spider-Man world?
It's got to be that Green Goblin
and Venom?
Green Goblin Venom thing. But then how do you have a world with 2 Spider-Mans? How do they balance? How do they work together? What's Peter going to be doing in the next game?
Where's he going to be working? What's he going to be doing? What's life like with Aunt May? What happened to Feast?
Yeah, like I don't think we're going to be in Feast at all.
No, you don't think so? I think Feast is screwed.
Leave that life behind.
I think it'll be interesting. It's going to be good. I'm excited. I am excited for the game. Now, Ashley, it's time to say goodbye. Thank you very much if you've been watching this review discussion. I was doing it on purpose, Ashley. I knew it was a review discussion. It says it right below us. Thank you for reacting to our review discussion. I've been Ciaran Marchin, your host, and this is Ashley Hobley. Please, if you're watching it on Twitch, twitch.tv/Explosion Network, follow us so you can be around for all of our review discussions, for early late nights, for our reacts to Ashley and Dylan doing something. If you're bored at about 11 o'clock tonight, or if you're not bored but you want to do something special, Dylan's going to be on this channel playing Forza Horizon 4. Thank you to Xbox Australia for giving us the game and allowing us to stream it. Dylan's going to be going through and he'll be there for you to ask any questions and get involved with the stream. Ashley, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Ashley Hobley, ASHLEYHOBLEY. It's a thing.
It is definitely a thing. I am at your boy Ringo on Twitter. Check out theexplosionnetwork.com for all news articles and all kinds of podcasts, craziness, and interviews and reviews and all kinds of stuff. Go check that out on youtube.com/Explosion Network. Until next time, keep swinging around New York and listen to J. Jonah Jameson's